Mark's fault.
What a jerk. Alright. Get on to this.
What?
What was that?
That was our intro music. We're live on all platforms, Josh. Josh is focusing.
I was typing a password in and then I clicked show password. I don't know if the camera caught it.
You're going to have some sleuth.
Yeah. That's alright.
How you doing?
I'm good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Wow.
Happy New Year.
We're almost a week into 2021.
Yeah, first
And
week.
so
51
far-
to go.
So far,
Don't
No,
even
first-
say it. Don't even say it.
first week isn't over. Nothing's gone too terribly wrong just yet.
Yeah, well, for us. We never know who
You
else
never
out
know.
there.
I gotta be careful. I don't want to offend anybody.
I do. Just hang around
Yeah.
long enough.
Yeah, you want to offend some people?
I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to offend somebody today.
We should start another podcast, and we already do have another podcast, The Art of Offending, where we just say offensive things, and we're just vulgar, just the complete opposite of what we typically are.
No professionalism,
Yeah.
nothing.
We don't start on time. We don't talk to each other. We just kind of talk at
Just
each other.
random.
Yeah.
Would we change anything, like a backdrop or like put up a green screen or something?
I
Or is it going to
can't-
be
yeah.
exactly like this, except like the realness?
I was gonna say something, but
No, that's
isn't
a
the-
different
this is-
podcast.
Yeah, that's not the Art of Offending. That's our Thursday show. This is our Wednesday show.
So today's podcast brought to you generously, not by Coquelin.
What?
It is not brought to you by Oakley Backpacks and Two Brain Business.
Wow.
They're also not sponsoring the podcast.
This-
Or InBody. I know people can't see it, but the InBody's in the corner. They're also not a sponsor.
Not brought to you by Apple, AirPods, or MacBook Airs, or phones,
Or phones.
or Energizer Max. Is Energizer the one with the bunny?
The bunny. Energizer Bunny. Okay.
Not brought to you by them.
Alright, so starting 2021 off just where we left 2020. No sponsors.
No sponsors. Maybe we could change that this year and start making some coin off of this silly show we did.
I bet the offending podcast would have all kinds of sponsors.
Oh, people would love it. I bet you we'd get some live viewers too.
Like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
The most offensive, and the most lucrative. That's
Man.
the key.
I've never understood how he could, go on 3 or 4 hour talks with the
Yeah.
people he'll have on. And then when we started doing it again, and we could go an hour and a half, probably 2 hours if we had enough to talk about. Like the fact that he's having these crazy, he's having, not that you're not comparable to Kevin Hart, but he'll have Kevin Hart, like Kanye, all these advanced physicists, biologists and stuff on his show. And it's like, man, now I see how they could probably just lose track of time and kill 3 or 4 hours talking about anything under the sun.
Yeah, he's a really good interviewer. He does a great job of just asking a question or pointing something out and then letting the other person have space to get their thoughts out, work through things, and not even jump on the back of something, but there's plenty of cases where there's just dead space, and it's quite all right, versus if I don't ever watch late night TV, but I see clips of Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel or any of those, and just the worst. I'm
just
sorry.
trying to fill the air.
Yeah.
I feel the same way that you feel about Fallon and Kimmel, actually, and you might be surprised, a lot of people might be, about Howard Stern. Because I think I've been told he's a pretty good interviewer, and I think he's a decent interviewer at extracting information that his guests don't want to let be extracted. They don't want to let it out. And so, but every interview I've heard from him, he's coming in there and he's talking over people, and I find it, me personally, and I don't think Howard Stern would be offended. This is the art of offending. I don't think he'd be offended to hear that. I'm not a fan of listening to that. Like, I'd rather listen to someone talk on their own.
Yeah, he's really adept at getting people to be vulnerable. And I think one of the things, and I haven't listened to anything of his in such a long time, but I do remember one of the things that he's very good about just calling people out. I'm like, look, that's not the truth. Like, we know it. Just say what you came here to say.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's really, really good about that.
Right.
Anyways, I don't know where that came from, but
hey,
we should probably hit the ground running.
Yeah. Current events?
Current events. First up, consistency challenge. We have that starting on the 25th of January.
With early bird pricing ending after the 10th.
Oh, it's very important. Okay.
So we like telling people that, not just to advertise a challenge, of course, because we want as many people to do it as we can so we can help you out. But if it's something you were thinking about, like if you're like me and you wait until the day before like the open to sign up for the open, don't do that with the challenge. Like if you're thinking about doing it, ask us or tell us what you're thinking about. We'll talk you through it, and then you can decide whether or not you'd like to do it.
Right.
And then that way you're not paying more for the same thing.
Yes.
Nobody wants to do that. So, so that'll end on the 10th. So then from the 11th up until the challenge starts on the 25th, it'll just be slightly more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Bang.
Yeah, and then we have the Out of 5K trail run. Of course, that is on January 31st.
That's Sunday morning, I believe, at maybe 8 a.m.? You got to check in somewhere around 7:30-ish, something like that?
Something like that. And so what I've kind of been telling people this week is, and we've said this on the show, I think we've said so many nice things about this race on the show, but it's like the race starts at 8, it's a 5K, you're most likely going to be done by 9.
Yep,
you're going to be home by like 10 or 10:30. Yeah. You could probably go eat breakfast somewhere and still be home by 10:30 to 11. Yeah. So it's not like you're giving up your Sunday to go do this. So it's a blast. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, it's such a fun time. I somebody was just sharing. Oh, it was on our social media feed. Was some of the pictures from last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think there was one. It was like me, Rob, you, Steph. Or there's a handful of people in the picture, and it just brought back a lot of good memories of the actual race.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how ridiculous I looked and what I wore that day until I saw that picture again. I blocked it out of my mind.
Did you have that, or did you have your CFG T-shirt?
Ooh,
you had a beanie.
I had a beanie on, and I might have had something like a little bit lighter like this. I didn't have the really plush one like what you're wearing. But I remember, shedding like 1 or 2 layers as I was running. Like the beanie came off at probably the 10-minute mark because you just start sweating so much. And if you're not used to running, whenever we get in here and do a workout, no matter what the temperature is outside, hot or cold, you always end up in shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So when we're out there and you start and it's really cold for us Floridians, I mean, we're kind of bundled, but that quickly comes apart, and so I was left carrying all this stuff as I'm running. So, yeah.
It's funny, it showed up on the feed. I didn't even know it showed up on the feed, and I think on Monday I went on the Facebook page and was just looking at the pictures anyway.
Yeah.
So it's funny, it showed up on the feed. I didn't even know that. So, cool. Yeah, so Consistency Challenge, January 25th, Alpha 5K Trail Run. That is going to be on January 31st.
Yes.
Boom.
Boom. All right.
Anything you want to cover before listener questions?
That's it.
I'll start it off. Josh, are we doing the open?
Yep. Next question.
All right, number 2.
Yes, we are going to do for those that don't know what we're talking about, once a year, CrossFit headquarters puts on a online kind of worldwide competition that is open to anybody to participate in, whether you are somebody who goes to a CrossFit gym or has a gym at home or anything like that. You just want to participate in some sort of fitness for time stuff. CrossFit headquarters puts out multiple workouts over the course of multiple weeks that you can complete, whether it is like what we're talking about, doing it at our gym here, or from your home, or if you go and visit another gym, you can basically do it anywhere. And historically, with one exception, there have been 5 weeks of workouts. So it's the way that the nomenclature that they use will be like 20.1, so that's year 2020 workout number 1, and then 20.2, 20.3, so on and so forth. And historically, with 1 year, the first year being the exception, there has been 5 weeks of workouts. The very first year, there were 6 weeks of workouts. Yes. Last year, was it last year or the year before, there was a March Open and an October Open. So there was 2.
Yeah, that was in 2019.
Yeah. And then HQ turned into a complete dumpster fire, like the rest of the world in 2020. And there was a big atomic bomb drop there. So they had a ton of shake-up changes, all that kind of stuff. And the premise to the whole dual open thing, they were actually planning to move the beginning of their competition season to October, with a whole bunch of other changes that had happened behind the scenes. But with the recent dumpster fire implosion, they are actually moving it back to its original time frame, which is going to be in March.
Got it.
So now, here's the interesting thing about, having dealt with CrossFit headquarters for more than a decade now, is you can't ever really count on any kind of information whatsoever, which is a fantastic way to run your business. So initially, when reports came out that there was going to be a 2021 Open, they were moving it back into a late February start. Everybody was all excited. All these plans started getting put together. Everyone's coming to me asking, what are we doing? What are you doing? From the different companies that I work with. And I said, right now I'm doing nothing, because this was like 3 months ago and there's no sense in doing it that far ahead of time. And 2, more importantly, is I knew that that wasn't going to be like set in stone.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, a couple weeks later, they released, nope, it's not going to be the end of February. It's going to be sometime in the beginning weeks of March. So tentatively, the week of March 11th is when they're saying that the first workout is going to be released. And there's only going to be 3 weeks of workouts.
Unless you place in the top 10% of your division or something like that,
yeah.
then you get 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
But that's separated by 2 weeks or something like that.
I don't even know. So
yeah, I don't know either.
And this is the interesting part about dealing with them is there's no rule book that actually states what the dates are or how the qualifying periods or any of that stuff goes. So who knows? And in the past, not only have they not released a rule book ahead of time, they've released it weeks and weeks and weeks into the season. So nobody really knows what's going on until all the dust settles. So that's why I say, yes, we are going to still plan on doing the Open, even though we're not a CrossFit affiliate. That actually doesn't matter one bit. The fact remains that we do like to enjoy that fitnessy aspect. There will be some complementary components that go along with it. What are those details right now? There's no sense in even speculating or talking about it, because we just simply don't know. So we are going to do it. It's probably going to be in March, but we're planned and ready for any kind of contingency that we need to be ready for. So
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we rebranded from CrossFit for Glory to Coaching for Glory.
Yeah.
That was a big question. Is just as everything you had just lined out, are you still going to do the Open? What's Josh going to do? Is Josh going to do the Open? Are we going to do it? And that was, when did we rebrand? It was June.
Yeah.
It's the Open's not for another couple of months. And then we found out it wasn't even until February, and then now March. So it's this is upwards of 9 months away.
Yeah.
It's asking you, what are you going to name your baby? And it's my wife's not pregnant for another 9 months.
Right,
It's
right.
I don't know, I'm really not thinking about it. So I think, so I think most people aren't going to care. Okay, we're doing the Open. And then you'll have the select few that are yeah. But the truth is, they would have found a way to do the Open anyway.
Right. Yeah. We just want to provide a spot for people that do want to do it and have fun. And I'll be the very first to admit it. I've done more Opens than anybody, and I love doing the Open. But that my identity is not wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
And if it was like, all right, there's no more opens, because I legitimately thought that was going to happen when everything else went up in smoke. Okay, no problem. Like,
and there's no reason, I don't want to scare people. Maybe this is just the conspiracy theorist in me, but there's no reason to say that that can't happen. Like, if the first step is moving it from 5 weeks to 3 weeks for Gen Pop, with the top 10% getting a few extra workouts, like, who's to say that in next year, 2 years, 3 years, there's like, okay, the open is for those that are already in the top 10% anyway. Like,
right.
There's no reason they can't just say, okay, we're getting away with the open.
Yeah.
We're doing away with it.
And it's funny, I was talking to Adam about this the other day, because I think he read something somewhere about it, and it was just asking me, some questions. And I think what I'm seeing right now is, well, number one, you're not getting any official communication from the source, CrossFit, right? It's all being put out through a bunch of different media outlets because they fired their media team a couple of years ago. Phenomenal decision that was. So, like, there's all these other different media outlets that are releasing these things, and they're trying to basically create these transcripts from conversations that they've had with people to lay out like all the different scenarios and people that they're trying to essentially please. And one of the things that Adam and I pretty much said at the same time, which was hysterical, is you can't please everybody all the time. And that's what it seems like they're trying to do. They're trying to, appease this group that felt marginalized, and this group that feels like they didn't get enough workouts, or this group that feels like the workouts were too hard, this one that feels like it was too easy, this one whose gym might be shut down, this one who can't have access to a rower. So they're trying to come up with all this stuff instead of just saying, look, the whole purpose of this is to find the fittest. And so if you are thinking that you are in contention to be the fittest, these are the things that you're going to need to come to the playing field with. Like,
right.
The issues that they're trying to address are not issues for people like Matt Fraser and Tia Toomey.
Right.
They've got all the equipment they could ever need to do any workout that CrossFit would ever throw at them in the open. And so if that's the goal, like, that's who you really need to get everything set for. And then if the others, can figure out a way to make it work, great. If not, but in this case, they're trying to figure out 26 different iterations of it. And I'm just not a fan of that.
Do you think that is a product, and this is probably going down too deep of a rabbit hole, do you think this is a product of the art of offending culture? So where you don't want to offend anybody or everybody? Or do you think that is a product of what we've seen the last 10 months with the coronavirus, is people are adapting to try to live life as normally as possible while making, like I said, these adaptations, and so they're just trying to do that again, or continue doing that? Or do you think it's a mix of both? Because, I mean, just as an example, is a couple of years ago, the start of 15.3, I know you remember that workout, it starts with 7 ring muscle-ups.
Yep.
And that's before a scale division.
Right.
Before there's and so you got people that are standing around doing, why am I doing the open if it's supposed to be all-inclusive? And so do you think it's a product of those people whining?
Right. So, before I answer your question, funny story about that. I remember being here that night when that workout was announced. I had never been more excited for a workout, but at the same time, saw so much disappointment across the faces of members in our gym that are like, this sucks, because how many people can do muscle-ups,
right.
Now, of course, that didn't affect me because that's one of my strengths, but I do certainly recognize and empathize with that was not a smart move on their part, Having said all that, I actually don't think it's either of the scenarios that you laid out why they're doing that. It is 100% a business decision, because this is a land grab opportunity, one, and also, they were so close that I still can't believe it didn't happen, but so close to just going belly up and being dissolved completely.
Wow.
So this is 100% a business decision, and everything that the new CEO does, and this isn't popular to admit, and nobody wants to admit it, but CrossFit's a business, and guess what businesses need to do to stay operational is be profitable and make money, right? So the last CEO that was in place, the last one, was not a business guy. And the decisions that were made were not in the interest of business. But make no mistake about it, the new CEO, Eric Rosa, is 100% I don't know if he's quite a billionaire, but he is 9-figure millionaire, businessman status. Like, big time tech company, sold it for a ridiculous amount of money, I think, to Microsoft. He is a early investor or board member to one of the big tech companies in the fitness space, True Coach. So for him, think about this. A couple of years ago, at the height of the Open, it was about 400,000 participants, give or take, right? Tens of thousands. That is a massive data grab, if you data grab correctly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, what you do with the data. It is, I want to get the data, because then what you can do, and I was schooled very well on this over the last year, about 2 years. If you have a mountain of data on people, on 500,000 people, you can sell all that data to a lot of different companies for a boatload of money. Now, what they do to analyze and aggregate and extrapolate from that data, that's on them. But the way that it manifests, just in case people aren't aware of this, when we mention something on air right now, like a new pair of shoes that we're looking at, or Oakley, I guarantee you, when I go to open up my phone later, I'm going to see advertisements for that. So guess what? When I'm looking at data and I see that all these people are really invested into fitness, or we're answering these questions about tech or anything, that is how you are marketed to. That is becoming the personalization of this marketing. So it's very valuable to these companies to actually get this data. So why am I telling this story? Is because I think that he wants to get as many eyeballs, as many participants as possible doing the Open to grab all this data, because it is a way to run the business. And it is 100%, CrossFit is 100% going in the direction of being a data-first company. That's very different than a fitness-first company. Very different. So, to me, that's exactly what it is. It's a business move.
Wow. Interesting perspective.
But yes, we're doing the Open.
Got it. So, I had some more questions, but we'll save it for another time. I think we could cover an entire podcast episode about that. It's really intriguing.
Yes.
You put a note here at the bottom. Did you want to save it for the last?
No. Actually, funny enough, I was just thinking about this on the way over. I know. Do you want to share with the listeners what your plans are for this weekend? What was a good Christmas gift you got, Mark?
Yeah, so good Christmas gift I got was this. I got a new keyboard for my computer, and it lights up from the bottom. What Josh is talking about is Coach Emily, my wonderful girlfriend, got the two of us a trip to St. Augustine for Christmas. And so we are heading up there. Today's Wednesday the 6th. We are heading up there tomorrow, Thursday the 7th, after I coach the morning classes. So we'll head up there just because our check-in to the Airbnb is until 3 p.m. So figure coach, go eat something, and then head up there. So we're going to St. Augustine, which means I will not be here Thursday evening or Friday, which leaves some classes to be covered.
Yes.
And so this is where the announcement comes in.
Yeah, so I was just thinking on the way in, I don't know, I remember I asked you the other day about, who's going to be coaching a couple of classes in particular, but I was looking at my schedule and I was like, if that one is not already covered, I think it would be cool for me to do the 9 a.m. class that day. So, I don't know if Steph was planning on doing that class, but if she's listening and she would not prefer to do the 9 a.m. class. Now that's the only one that I can do with my schedule. So
right.
I think it'd be cool to jump back in and give people a little bit of Josh Martin coaching.
It's been a while, but you're still as good as ever. Because
I know what I'm doing.
we were put through, and I think we talked about this in the Two Brain Summit. You kind of put us through kind of like a pseudo class because you were also working out with us. So it was like, okay, so you were warming up, but you're also warming us up and telling us. And so I was like, man, I'm getting severe nostalgia right now. So he's still as good as ever. So
cool. Well, that's good to know.
Look forward to that on Friday.
Friday.
Potentially, yeah. We're gonna chat with Stephanie, but hey.
Yeah, if she's a GM. If she gives me approval, then maybe I need to get an evaluation done.
Yeah, we need to do our coaching plan. Go through a whole coaching plan. Cool.
Awesome.
All right. So next, I will ask this one to you first.
Okay.
Let me just take the note down at what time it is. Okay. So the question. This was a listener question, another one, not just an announcement. And so this listener asked. I have a knee injury, and so this can be used for whatever injury you might have, but they ask, I have a knee issue / injury, what should I be doing, and what should I not be doing?
What should I be doing? So there are a couple of things that you should definitely be doing. Number one, you should definitely tell your coach. Now, let's just say there is a difference between acute and chronic injuries, right? An acute injury is I fell and cracked my knee. Like, it is instantaneous. I twisted my knee and I, broke my ACL or tore my ACL or my meniscus or anything like that, right? So that's an acute injury. A chronic injury is just something that over time, like a lot of people, they have it very well understood in their head that like low back pain, right? It's just kind of persistent. That's an example of a chronic injury. But if like your knee, if you've got one knee that's always like, oh, that old, high school injury, we joke about that. But if you've got chronic or like lingering pain in something, that would be more akin to a chronic injury. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're communicating with your coach, right? Because it's really that relationship that leads to the result that you want. You can call it a goal, but I just think that the double R piece, the alliteration there, the relationship is what leads to the result, just kind of makes sense and it flows well. So the result that we want with this is to not be in pain, to be pain-free. It's the relationship that you have with your coach that allows that to happen in an optimal way. What you might want to do, depending upon the severity and depending upon what the scope of what your fitness coach is able to do, is talk to an actual medical professional. So go see a physical therapist. So in our gym, we have the benefit of being partnered with a wonderful company in Exos, and there are multiple physical therapists here all day long. So it's literally, hey Mark, I've noticed that my knee has been bugging me lately. What should I do? If that is beyond Mark's competency, based upon what he knows, his experience, all that kind of stuff, he can say, you know what, that's a little bit above my head. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Abigail over here. She can take it from there. So understanding what the scope is. So that's what you should be doing. Another thing that you should still continue to do is daily movement. Now, remember, we've talked about this in prior podcasts. There is a difference between what we classically think of as exercise, which is structured movement. So you are doing A, B, C, D, E. You're going to do it at this time for this many reps at this weight, at this tempo, so on and so forth. That's structured movement versus unstructured movement. Parking at the back of the lot and walking a little bit further. Taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Going for a walk with your family. Taking the dog for a walk. Going for a bike ride, every single day for 30 minutes. Whatever it is, that's what we would consider unstructured movement. Still incredibly beneficial, something that you should be doing every day. And in working with your coach, they can make sure that the movement that is programmed for you is personalized to the circumstances you deal with on that day, right? So if you wake up and your knee's banged up and there was some squatting there, but you have a communication with your coach because of a relationship, they can make some quick adjustments and then boom, guess what? You're probably not squatting. So to recap, what I should be doing is communicating with your coach. Definitely. What you might want to do, and again, this can come from the conversation with your coach, is talking to a medical professional. But that also lays out what you should not be doing. So if I've got a knee injury, I probably don't want to be doing much that puts a heavy load on flexion and extension of the knee, right? Load can be body weight, it can be with an external weight, it can be any kind of resistance, right? So if my knee is all banged up, I'm probably not going to be squatting. I'm not saying that I'm never going to squat, because you do eventually, through the recovery process, need to be taking yourself through it. But initially, because we're going to say I've got a knee injury here, I'm not going to be doing squatting that is not specifically programmed from my coach or my physical therapist. And what I'm also definitely not going to do is just follow any kind of random program that I see. Online, a friend sent it to me, I got it in an email, I saw it somewhere cool. I was almost about to say in a magazine, but I don't even know, do people read magazines anymore?
Maybe at the doctor's office.
Okay, yeah, so I'm certainly not going to be doing any of that. And the simple fact is because of our unique belief in fitness, is it is best and optimally done for something that is individualized to you, right? To how you are feeling on that day, the goals, the results that you are working towards. The online programmer doesn't know that. The thing that you pulled, from an email doesn't take that into account, unless that's the relationship that you have with your remote coach, right? Because we do plenty of remote coaching. But again, that begets the personal one-on-one relationship that you have with the coach. So don't do that, because the nice thing about having programming for you is that I open it up, this is what I got to do, and I go and do it. It removes the thinking. The bad part about having programming delivered to me is I open it up, I look at it, and I go do it, right? So it's good and bad, right? It is that double-edged sword. But there's a difference. There's context that needs to be understood there. There's nothing wrong with trusting that, but what you should be placing your trust in is the plan developed through the relationship with the coach.
Right.
Not with some algorithm or some, computer program or anything. So, yeah, don't do that.
It's easy to, because of how accessible it is. As you say,
Right.
like if you're emailed something that isn't from your remote coach, or you see something on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or something like that, it's easy to quickly go on a page that posts those workouts. Like I think WOD Roulette is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look at WOD Roulette, I don't follow them, but I'll go look, and I'm like, man, I like some of these workouts they're putting out. They were actually doing it was like an at-home mashup workout for during the pandemic, and I thought it was a pretty cool idea. So I was just looking at those to help guide our programming. But the problem with those pages is that, like you said, they're just kind of putting workouts out. It's just like, hey, if you come up with this really cool workout, it's gonna get posted, and it doesn't fit into some sort of progressive overload that your program is preparing you for.
Yeah.
For example, I could go on and find a workout that has squat cleans at 80% of my max and 30 bar muscle ups, and I'm like, I love both of those movements. I'm gonna do them, but I know right now with my back and my elbow and my shoulder, I shouldn't be doing any of that.
Right.
So why would I go and do it, or even go and do it and try to modify it? I would rather stick to the program that you and I have sat down and wrote for into the first week of February, and stick to that, because right now the goal of mine is to exercise and move without any pain.
Correct.
which is funny at 23, that's an off note, but like I want to be able to work out and feel good about myself and the challenge that I push myself through in the gym without pain.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this, and I didn't think about it whenever I was first writing it, but as I talk through this, I've been dealing with a left knee issue for, I don't know, maybe 6, 8, 10 months. I really don't know when it started, if I'm being perfectly honest, but it kind of comes and goes, and guess what? Every single day when I come in, no matter who is coaching, the first question after we just have some general banter, but the first question is like, hey, how's the knee doing? Because what we have agreed upon is a set number of repetitions and loadings that is appropriate for where I am at in the process of getting back to, I hate to use this term, but it's ubiquitous for people to understand, is like normal. What is normal for me? Which is being pain-free, in every sort of knee flexion exercise that I do. So I don't blindly just do 50 squats, on a Monday and then come in and Thursday there's more squatting and blindly do that. I take, with my coaches, we take a good, objective look at what are the number of loadings and repetitions and everything that you went through, let's say last week. Okay, how did that feel? Were you able to recover and adapt from it? Yes or no? If no, then we either do the same amount or less. If yes, we go slightly beyond that. Slightly, right?
Progressive overload.
Yeah, something that's progressive in nature, not random.
Right.
And not because it's there. Like, just because I can do pistols, probably with the best of them, and I can do it with the pain that I, have in my knee. Like, I can do them just fine, but it's not the best thing. And sometimes the argument is like, oh, well, I just want to get a good workout in. You say that in the moment, but that's actually not in service to the goal that that you ultimately have for yourself. So where does the accountability come from? 2 places. 1, discipline that you have with yourself and with your coach, right? And if you're wondering if the workout that you're looking at is something that you should be doing, ask why. Like, why? Why am I doing this? And continue to ask it until you get into the deep understanding of, is it in service, to your goal ultimately?
We've been having a lot of check-ins lately based off of, we've kind of highlighted a little bit about what you and I are working on. So I've, been checking in with some people, and if I haven't gotten to you yet, I will get to you. And I hope this, if you listen to this doesn't influence your answer at all. But, I ask people, okay, like this is a quick goal setting check-in. How are you feeling? How are things going? How's your sleep? How's your nutrition? Stuff like that. And when I ask, so what would you say some of your goals are right now? Not one person has said, like, when we get into the movement stuff, if we specify, okay, like, what are your movement specific goals? They'll tell me. But if I'm like, hey, what are your overall goals? Like, what brings you in here every day? What are you trying to achieve? Which I think is an interesting way to word it, which I'll get into in a second. But everybody says, like, nobody says, man, I come into CFG every day because I really want to get better at pistols. Or I really want to get better at toes to bar, or I really want to get better at bar muscle ups, or I want to squat heavy. Every person I've talked to has said, man, I want to look good, or I want to feel good.
Yeah.
Or really just the second one is, hey, I want to feel good. Or someone has said to me, kind of like what I just said, I want to be pain free.
Right.
And it's like, that's first and foremost. It's like, why, and if you are somebody who you're like, hey, I don't mind the pain, which we know isn't true, just because we know what that stress does to the body. But if you're like, hey, I don't mind the pain, that really is my primary goal, I would probably recommend like thinking about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And think about like why really like so the reason you're coming in every day is so you can get better at pistols.
Right. It's
like that's not true. Like you're exercising for a reason. I don't want you to tell me the real reason.
Right.
But I mentioned I wanted to return to something is I think goal. We say goal all the time, and I think as coaches we understand. And I don't think I brought this up to you yet. I want to hear what you think. Goal is really easy for us to understand as coaches, because it's okay, like, there's this specific idea we have in mind, whereas when we ask people what their goals are, I think they feel some sort of pressure to say, okay, I want to lose this amount of weight, or I want to do this.
Right.
Like, feeling good and looking good can be a goal. And so kind of the way I've been phrasing it lately is like, what are you trying to achieve?
Right.
What do you want to achieve coming in here? Because I think that's pretty
Yeah, why do you
synonymous
come?
with goals. Yeah, why do you come in here?
Yeah.
And that's how we can kind of figure out what your more specific goals are. So, whereas like I said, if you were to just be like, okay, so what are your goals? So it'll be like, and you run into this a lot in the initial consultations that we'll do with new people, is they'll say, well, I don't really know, I never really thought about it.
Right.
So okay, so why do you want to be in the gym? You know,
Right.
why do you want to come in here? Oh, I want to look good. Okay, let's start there.
Right.
What do you look like now? Well, I got this going on, and I got, if your name's Mark Z, I got this muffin top. You know, I want to lose a muffin top. Okay, so it's body fat percent.
Right.
You know, then you can go down the
Right.
rabbit hole. I'm kind of rambling now, but start there if you don't know.
Yeah.
If you're somebody you're like, I don't know what my goals are, I don't know what I want to achieve. Like, just think, why do you go to the gym? What's the purpose of you exercising?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I want to take out of that and kind of unpack just a little bit more. One is that goal piece that you said. I do think, and I found this out a lot over the years, that for a large majority of people, that word is scary, because I think that it puts some unnecessary pressure upon them. So I've resorted to using different words when talking to different people. You know, if I have a good relationship with them, it might be objective. It might be, what's the result you're looking for? You know, but I never want to presume to know or put upon them, you know, what I think would be admirable goals or anything like that. Because I've done that, and it's the wrong thing to do, you know, and that's part of the learning of a coach. Is like, well, one of the famous stories you've heard me tell this before is like, you know, you've been here for 3 years. Don't you want to get a pull-up? And I've had this person say, you know what? No, that's actually not a goal of mine at all. And finally, after a couple of years, it clicked, and I'm like, okay, so it's not my job as the coach to tell you what goals you should have. Because if that's the case, then you are always relying on your coach to motivate you. And that's not lasting at all. You need to figure out, you know, what it is that you want to work towards. So I definitely understand and see where you're coming from with like that whole idea of a goal can seem daunting and scary. The other thing that I thought was interesting that you said, that you identified, and we've talked at length about this, is most of the conversations, I would say 90+% of the conversations that we have with people in terms of goals or objectives, but we're just going to use goals for the universal term, is not very specific movement related things. I want to deadlift 500, I want to snatch 225, I want to do 50 toes to bar or something like that. It's exactly what you said. It's honestly, it's much more comfort in the lifestyle, right?
Right.
I was talking to Bart about this yesterday. I had a really big coming to Jesus movement, or a moment like a year and a half ago, where the kids were on the floor and asking me, Daddy, get down and play with me. And I know the people that aren't watching this live or on the YouTube can't see this, but it's like, I gotta take, 12, steps to get all the way down to the floor and like brace myself, because I was beat up, and it was a big realization that I cannot continue to do what I'm doing and then also get the result, which is a comfortable lifestyle with my family, if I continue to do the same thing. Right? That's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Right.
So there is that. Having said that, what is interesting is that whether your goal is comfort in lifestyle or movement related, any of that stuff, the prescription is still the same. You need to be doing stuff that allows your body. We talked about this last episode or maybe a couple ago. You need to be doing things that challenge you just outside your capability A little bit, because that allows biology to take its natural course. You recover from it, you adapt, and you live to fight another day. Not suffer. You recover and adapt. Those are two different things. Right? You don't want to get conditioned to just surviving suffering, because that's not life. Like, it shouldn't be I'm suffering to get down onto the floor, to get up off the floor when the kids want to play with me.
Yeah.
I should be able to thrive. And that's, if it's a movement-related goal, or if it's a lifestyle, I want to be pain-free, the prescription is the same. You need to follow something that's sustainable and progressive in nature over the long term. Mom had an interesting note. I think this tied back into the early stuff about the knee thing is, to add to that, it's also rewarding if you're prescribed exercises from your physical therapist to spend time actually doing them. Right. Pencil yourself in and prioritize this PT time. This reminds me of the question that we got several weeks ago about how do you evaluate the efficacy of a program, right? If I tell you, all right, Mark, this is the plan, you need to do A, B, C, and then 4 weeks, when we're having our check-in, you say, well, this isn't working, and I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about this. The plan was A, B, C. What have you been doing? Well, I've done a couple of A's, a B, and a C, but really I haven't done it all.
Yeah.
It's like, well, so we can't say that it's not working. Same thing here. If you're prescribed some sort of recovery and rehab from your physical therapist, if you're doing it, then we can say it's working or it's not working. But if you're not doing what the plan says, you can't say it's not working.
Yeah.
You also can't say that it is working.
Right. Because you're not doing it, you're not going to know.
Yeah.
It goes... I just think about people that we've had in the past, or you think about people that are like, I wasn't really liking it, or, maybe it just wasn't for me, that whole, gym deal or whatever, whether they were doing a boot camp or functional fitness or whatever it might be. And it's like, how many did you go to, first of all, right? So say you got like someone that's like a New Year's resolution, or I think people have done them. They're like, yeah, you know what, after the first month, I decided it wasn't for me. It's like, okay, so what membership did you sign up with? We'll say it's a boot camp. Well, I signed up for the 2 times a week. And I only made it, maybe once, in those last 2 weeks. It's like, okay, so there's 4 weeks in a month. So you went 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you made it to 2 in the last one. It's like, so you decided after 6 hours, 6 classes, if you liked it or not, which we know is not enough time, and which is what we prescribe people the first time we meet them in this office, is that we know that 3 months, give us 3 months, and I promise you're going to see exactly what you want to see and feel, closer to how you want to feel. Like, you're going to see progress trend in the right direction.
Yeah.
You're not going to see your end goal, of course,
Right.
And so you're going to tell me after those 6 boot camps, or say it was a 12 time a month CFG membership and you made it in 4 times, it's like, it wasn't for me. It's like 4 times? Yeah, you're not going to see results. I'll tell you right now, as a coach, you're not going to see results. And it's not a shocker to me. You're going to say something.
Well, yeah. So one of the things you already hit on it is it's not that you get to 3 months and you get the goal. It's going to take about that long for you to really see that you are making progress. That's the whole goal, is to be on the journey and progress. It's not 6 weeks and I get it, because this is not a comfortable thing for people to hear. If you get it in 6 weeks, you're not going to keep it.
No.
Guaranteed. I'll give you the keys to my car if you can prove me otherwise. And when I say keep it, I don't mean keep it, I kept it for 6 weeks. Show me 60 years. Like, there's got to be a conversation on the time component of the things that you're doing. And trust me, I bear this burden that it is incumbent on us as coaches to have that communication with people that, we're here to provide you a path to your long-term goal, because that is actually what is sustainable, and that's part of our fundamental belief in what it is that we do. I don't want to fast-track you, because that'll break you. We've been down that road, and I'm not going down it again. So yeah, it's incumbent on us as coaches to have that communication to say that, look, you can't base, even if you came, did that twice a week thing, and you're like, I did it. Well, guess what? We had the conversation. We understood that you're not going to see really any kind of progress, and that's an uncomfortable thing for people to hear.
Yeah.
But it takes time. It took time for you to get to where you are today. That you don't unravel that ball of yarn overnight, over 6 weeks, over 6 months, maybe not even over 6 years. But again, that's why it's so important for us to have these extended conversations and build a relationship, because then we got trust with people that they know that I'm investing in you, just like you are with your dollars. I'm investing in you with our knowledge and our experience and our expertise. And so we want there to be this mutual collaborative relationship between coach and client to get them to where they want to go.
Yeah. It's scary. It's scary and it makes you wonder, you and I have been listening to OPT a lot on his podcast.
Yeah.
And if anybody's interested in delving into this topic a little bit more, Josh and I can send you a plethora of links, but it makes you wonder how we got to this point. And he details it pretty well, and he can kind of tell you where this began and why this began, but where did say someone gains 50 pounds in a year, right? Or they gain the quarantine 50.
Right.
And it's like, listen, a 4, 6, 8, not even a 52-week challenge is going to help you lose those 50.
And keep it off.
And keep it off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that bad habits are so easy to create, because the path of least resistance is just that, the path of least resistance. So bad habits are incredibly easy to create and insanely hard to break. So when you have gone down this road of these bad habits that got you to where you are, yeah, you could certainly throw it back in our face and say, well, I only gained it over the course of this last year. Yeah, but that's a lot of stuff that we've now got to unpack, because that doesn't just happen. There are some deep, deep things that happened in your life to lead you down that path.
Right.
And trust me when I tell you, it's not going to be broken, over the course of the next year. It's going to take some time.
Think of the last episode, or maybe two episodes ago was the Christmas special. So then, last year. So last week I think I talked about one of the books, or we've talked about Behave by Sapolsky.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to dive into that and understand how, how does someone gain those 50, what decisions, not only leading up, the year leading up to them gaining those 50 pounds, but, what kind of led up to them making those decisions.
It's eye-opening, but what it really drills into your head is, I have heard OPT say this so many times until he's blue in the face, but you can't cheat biology,
No.
So let me back up a little bit. There are so many people out there that, have this biohack method, right, or the fast track method. So, the idea is out there, and that's where people get this idea of fitness being done really quickly, or I can get my result in 6 weeks or 6 months. But you can't cheat biology long term.
No.
Right? The time component is what's missing from so much, I would say, universally from the fitness conversation. Okay.
I want to talk about that more, but I know you said that you wanted to get out of here at 11:30, right?
Yes.
And then we have one more, and
Okay.
This is also a really good one. So
Yep.
we'll try to knock this out in only 9 minutes.
Oh man, this is a deep one.
Yeah. So this is a question, another listener question, and we've talked about novelty before, or we might have discussed it a little bit on the show. We've talked about it at length between you and I.
Yep.
And novelty really refers to doing new things in the gym. So new movements or new structures of workouts or new different things for the sake of it being different.
Yep.
And that's fun for a lot of people. Is that novelty necessary to have fun?
I feel like what these a lot of these episodes are, and maybe this is why it's so cathartic for me and for you, and for the 1.5 listeners that we have, is it's really laying out like these are mistakes that we've made, and we're correcting them aggressively.
Yeah.
Right. And so
that's scary.
Yeah, it is. To me, it's fun, but yeah, not fun. So the best way that I can describe this is literally something that I used to quote unquote pitch to people when they were interested in joining the gym. Is how when you go to the regular gym and it's like you're doing the same thing every day. Wouldn't it be cool if you just every day was a different workout?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. That does sound fun.
Right.
Like that's part of me. Like what was fun was like every day is different. And so that's kind of a good way to describe the novelty concept, right? Is every day is different. So is that necessary for fun? So first, we need to define what fun actually means. So does fun mean not boring? I would say that yes, it means that it's not boring. Would fun be that something is not repetitive? Like, is doing repetitive type things seem fun to you?
To me, yeah, but I'm a data geek.
Yeah.
I could see where it would not be fun for other people.
Right.
Like if I did the same workout every Monday,
yeah,
and you told me to do the same workout exactly the same, in my brain I know I would find some way to analyze it differently, but I guess that does make it different and novel in some way.
Right.
But if I did the same workout, but I understand some people don't find it that way. So.
Yeah, so usually whenever we talk to people about, fun within the workout, what they're referring to is the concept of variety, right? They see, if you look at our programming, if you were to glance at it on a weekly basis, that is actually, because I'm looking up here at like 3 weeks from now what our programming is, like to me that is very good variety.
Yeah.
Okay? So, that's fun, right? By that definition.
Right.
Right? So, the question though is that novelty, is that variance what is actually necessary for fun? So, for me, and I think when people, and it took me a long time to get to this, for me, what is not fun is not progressing towards my goals. So let's flip that around. What is fun, is exciting, is maintainable and sustainable, is progressing towards my goal. That is something that I want to do. Like I want to do things that are fun.
Yeah.
So I want to continue to maintain progress. So that's why I flipped the statement around to start with, because it's easy to wrap your head around that. So it's not fun to not make progress. So then the correlate to me would be, or the opposite would be, it is fun to continue to make progress. So let's go back to the whiteboard here. Okay, so if I was to actually show you four weeks of our programming, you might look at it and be like, man, I'm seeing some repeatability. We're floor pressing. I see that, we're going from 8 reps to 10 reps to 12 reps or something like that. We're doing some, seated banded pull downs. We're doing some goblet squats, and I see that the reps are going up. Man, that looks like we're repeating things, and it doesn't look all that varied. So I don't know if that's going to be fun.
Why?
But if I sit down with you one-on-one and I say, look, remember when we sat down and talked and you told me that you wanted to get better, like you felt like you wanted your pull-ups to improve, and maybe just your upper body strength in general. So the way that we do that is we need to give you repeated exposure to these movement patterns. So you see that we're doing the banded pull down. In week 1, we're starting with sets of 5. week 2 we're going to sets of 8. Week 3 we're going to sets of 10. Whatever the progression is. How does that sound? Oh, that actually sounds fun. Because I'm actually showing you, laying out what your journey, what the plan is to get you to your goals. Now, if there wasn't anything like that, or I only saw a 1-week snapshot, it could look like variety and fun. But sometimes when people see that, like, oh man, we're doing a combination of, this movement and this movement and this movement. Didn't we just do that? Well, we did something similar, but see what we're actually doing, and then we explain why we're doing it, and we connect the progression to what the goal is. That's actually what is fun.
Yeah.
Remember, because we have to go back, and this is an unpopular way to do things, but you got to define what it is. Nobody said, I want to come in here and dance around and have a good time, go to the nightclub, that's fun. You're coming in here because you've got a goal, a result that you want to get, right? Now, we do need to make it fun for you, but again, fun in the context of this is we have to start with the opposite definition. Not fun. You know what sucks? Is actually not making any progress towards my goals.
Right.
So for me, when I evaluate the programming that you write for me, the way that I look at it is, do I feel like before the workout, I look at it and I say, why am I doing this? How is this going to help me get closer to what I want? After the workout, I also do an evaluation. How did I feel about that? And I still find myself saying that, that was fun. And what I mean by that is, I've got the connection between what it is that I just did and where we're going.
So I feel like as a listener, someone might listen to this podcast or, watch it or however they, ingest this and think, well, I'm for sure progressing. No matter what, I feel like I could do anything and progress and get better. And while that might be true...
It's not, but continue.
Right. Think about the example we used in that knee issue question. If you're somebody who has been following this program that's been thought out and structured based on the population at your gym, so for you...
Right.
And all of a sudden, you're following this email or this template or this Facebook or this Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
Although that might be novel and that might be fun, it's way more not fun to, because you went off program, like you said, not progress, or even worse, get hurt.
Yeah.
Then that's the least amount of fun, is getting hurt. And now you're not only did you completely halt process, but you probably just put it in reverse. And you slammed on the brakes, or slammed on the gas. So now you're just heading in reverse.
Right.
And so, I guess to tie it all back in, would you say first that novelty is fun? I know that wasn't the original question, but... so you would say novelty is not fun because progressing is way more fun.
Yes.
So I think we have our answer. Is novelty necessary for fun?
No. But the caveat being, you have to spend some time asking, real questions to yourself on why you're doing what you're doing, because you need to have some sort of connection.
Right.
Don't lie to yourself.
We're going to start calling this podcast The Art of Jumping on Grenades. I feel like we've been doing a lot of that the last 2 months, and I just hope it's as eye-opening as...
Yeah.
You and I were woke.
Yeah.
We're woke.
Oh gosh. I can't say that word because Mandy will slit my throat.
She didn't like that word?
No, she said if you ever say that, so I don't say that.
We're trying to make everybody else woke.
Yeah.
So
the fun thing, right? Again, start with the opposite. So what's not fun is actually not making progress. What's not fun is getting injured or staying injured or not recovering. So if those are all things that we would say are not fun, then what is fun is the opposite. Making progress, not getting injured, not staying injured, getting better. Guess what? The way that you do that is with a individualized, progressive program.
And, we put all this stress on novelty, and for the longest time we thought novelty was fun, and coming in and doing a different workout every day was fun. But what was also fun was coming in and testing a benchmark workout. And as you know, when we retest benchmark workouts, those are constructed the same exact way every single time. If Fran is programmed, we're just doing Fran.
Yeah.
And Fran's supposed to be a 3-minute workout, so what do you do with the other 57 minutes? But why is that fun to come in and do the same thing?
Yeah.
Well, because you see that you're progressing and you're getting better.
That's actually a really great point for the people that are stuck in that mindset.
Yeah. And so we've taken that huge bird's eye annual view, because we do Fran once a year.
Right.
We've done it once a year for the last 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, or however often we've done it. And now we're squishing it into what we now have block training. And even if you're still a fan of novelty after listening to the last, 16 minutes of the show, the next block's going to focus on something else. So you might see something different, because we know that you still need to have some sort of variance.
Right.
But in general, your training has to be progressive.
Correct.
So if you're still a fan of that novelty, don't worry. It's not like we're only going to be doing floor pressing and bicep curling for the next year or two.
I want to.
Yeah, I want to. Help me with my push-ups. I always tell people I don't have good push-ups. I got little chest and long arms.
There you go.
But yeah, that'll you'll still get your variance or your novelty that you're looking for, while being on a plan that's built for you and built for everybody else will be around you with their own plan that's built for them, and you'll be progressing, and that's way cooler.
Yeah.
Than just doing a different workout every day.
Right. Awesome.
Which you're still going to be doing anyway, but
right.
Just
progressive in nature.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for me, folks. I got to get out of here. I got another pod to be on.
Oh,
yeah.
He's cheating on us, folks.
No, never. This is the priority. See?
That's right.
All right.
Thank you, live listeners. Thank you.
Thanks to none of our sponsors.
Yeah, thank you guys for all your worth. 5-star written review, please don't forget it.